Captain Sarah Chen dropped her coffee mug as massive shadows fell across the United Nations headquarters. The ceramic shattered on the marble floor, but nobody noticed. Every eye was fixed upward, watching as colossal ships emerged from what looked like tears in reality itself. The vessels were impossible. Each one stretched for miles, their hulls gleaming with an otherworldly metal that seemed to bend light around it. Strange symbols pulsed along their surfaces in colors that hurt to look at directly. The air itself trembled with a low, ominous hum that made windows rattle and birds fall silent. "Jesus Christ," whispered Dr. Marcus Webb, the UN's chief xenobiologist, as he pressed his face against the conference room window. "They're actually here." Secretary General Liu Wei stood frozen at the head of the table, her emergency session forgotten. Around her, delegates from every nation sat in stunned silence. The heated debate about trade agreements seemed laughably trivial now. The ships hung motionless above major cities across the globe. London, Tokyo, Washington, D.C., Moscow, Cairo. Everywhere humans had gathered in large numbers. The alien vessels cast their shadow. CNN's breaking news ticker scrolled endlessly. First contact. Alien ships appear worldwide. Governments mobilizing. Then the voice came. It didn't emerge from speakers or radio waves. Instead, it materialized directly inside every human mind, on Earth simultaneously. The words arrived in perfect native languages, carrying a weight of authority that made spines straighten and hearts race. "People of the third planet." The voice was deep, resonant, and utterly alien. It spoke with the casual confidence of absolute power. "We are the hegemonic council of the Vorthan Empire. For 7,000 of your years, we have watched your species crawl across this insignificant rock you call home." In the UN conference room, Captain Chen felt her military training kick in. She began recording everything on her tablet, her fingers moving automatically while her mind reeled. "Your time of ignorance ends now. You will submit to imperial authority. You will serve. Resistance is not merely futile, it is laughable." The alien ships pulsed brighter, and holographic projections materialized above every major city. The images showed vast space battles, entire planets burning, countless alien species kneeling before towering beings in elaborate armor. "Behold the fate of those who defied us." The Karathi thought their technology superior. Their worlds are now mining colonies. The Zephyrins believed their psychic powers would save them. They now serve as living computers in our ships. Dr. Webb grabbed Sarah's arm. "Are you getting this? The archaeological implications alone." "Shut up, Marcus," she hissed, still recording. The voice continued its cosmic lecture, each word dripping with millennia of unchallenged dominance. "We offer you the same choice we have offered to 347 worlds before you. Submit and serve with dignity. Your artists will create for our enjoyment. Your warriors will fight in our armies. Your scientists will advance our technology." The holographic displays shifted, showing what looked like human figures in elaborate uniforms, working alongside strange alien beings in massive industrial complexes. Refuse and join the silence of the void. The projections changed again. This time they showed Earth itself, but different, darker. The continents were scarred, the oceans boiled away, the atmosphere stripped clean, a dead world spinning through empty space. "You have 48 of your hours to respond. Choose wisely. Children of the third planet. The Vorthan Empire is patient but not infinitely so." The voice faded, leaving behind a silence so complete that the sound of hearts beating seemed deafening. For exactly 12 seconds, nobody in the UN conference room moved. Then Secretary General Liu's phone exploded with calls. Every world leader wanted answers nobody had. Military commanders demanded orders for battles they couldn't fight. Scientists begged for data that didn't exist. "Ma'am," Captain Chen said quietly, "we need to evacuate." "No." Liu's voice was steady despite the chaos around her. "We need to respond." "With what? They just threatened to blow up the planet." Liu looked out at the massive ship hovering over the city, its alien symbols pulsing like a slow heartbeat. We respond the only way humans know how. She straightened her shoulders. We figure out what they really want, and then we negotiate. Dr. Webb looked up from his frantically scribbling notes. Sarah, you don't understand. These beings claim to have conquered over 300 worlds. They've been watching us for 7 millennia. This isn't a negotiation. It's a surrender demand. But Captain Chen was studying the ships through the window, her tactical mind working. Something bothered her about the whole display. It was too perfect, too theatrical, like a show designed to impress rather than a genuine military operation. Maybe, she said slowly, or maybe they're not as invincible as they want us to think. Outside, the alien ships continued their silent vigil, waiting for humanity's answer. Across the globe, billions of people looked up at the sky and wondered if they were seeing the end of their world. They had no idea they were about to give the galaxy's most feared empire the surprise of its existence. Chapter 2. Humanities. Response 24 hours after first contact, the memes started. Captain Sarah Chen stared at her tablet in disbelief as she scrolled through social media. While world leaders held emergency sessions and military commanders drew up hopeless battle plans, the internet had responded to humanity's potential extinction in the most human way possible. They made jokes about it. Submit to the Vorthan Empire. Read one viral post, or we'll destroy your planet. Below it, someone had photoshopped the alien ship with a caption, "Me threatening to delete my save file when the game gets too hard." Another showed the dramatic holographic projection of burning worlds, but someone had added the caption, "When you're trying to impress your crush but your ex keeps sliding into the DMs." "This is insane," Dr. Webb muttered, looking over her shoulder. "The most significant moment in human history, and people are turning it into entertainment." Sarah kept scrolling. The creativity was actually impressive. Someone had already created a dating profile for the Vorthan Empire. Tall, dark, ominous, looking for species to dominate. Not interested in games unless they involve galactic conquest. 7,000 years of experience watching from space. Not creepy, just romantic. "Look at this one," she said, showing Webb a video that had already gotten 50 million views. It was security footage from the UN Plaza during the aliens' big speech, but someone had added subtitles translating the dramatic announcement into modern slang. People of the third planet became sup-Earth losers, submit to imperial authority, became bow down to daddy empire. Resistance is laughable became don't even try it, bestie. The video ended with a deep-fried image of the alien ship and the text, "This message brought to you by boomer aliens who still use caps lock." Webb rubbed his temples. They're going to get us all killed. But Sarah was thinking. As a military strategist, she understood psychological warfare. The aliens had tried to crush human morale with their display of power. Instead, humanity had responded by refusing to take them seriously. "Maybe that's not such a bad thing," she said quietly. Her tablet pinged with a priority message from UN Command. Secretary General Liu was calling an emergency session with military and scientific advisors. Sarah grabbed her gear and headed for the secure conference room. She found Liu surrounded by screens showing global communications data. The numbers were staggering. Internet traffic had increased by 400% as people shared alien-related content. The Vorthan Empire was trending worldwide, but not in the way the invaders probably expected. "Captain Chen," Liu said without looking up, "tell me about these memes." "Ma'am, your psychological profile says you understand social media warfare. What does this response tell us about our situation?" Sarah thought carefully. "It tells us humanity isn't acting like a conquered species. When people make jokes about something, they don't see it as an immediate existential threat." General Morrison, head of NATO forces, scoffed from his chair. "They should. Our military assessment is clear. These ships could glass the planet in minutes. We can't even reach them with our best weapons." "And yet," Liu said thoughtfully, "they haven't attacked. They made a demand and set a timeline. Why? Dr. Webb pulled up his analysis on the main screen. I've been studying their communication patterns. The language they used suggests a highly hierarchical society with formal protocols. Everything about their announcement follows the pattern of ritual intimidation rather than immediate military action. Meaning they expect us to follow a script. Other species probably responded with fear, desperate negotiations, or hopeless military resistance. But he gestured helplessly at the screens full of memes. We're laughing at them. The room fell quiet as the implications sank in. Show me the latest, Liu ordered. Sarah pulled up the most recent viral video. It was a compilation of news anchors trying to maintain composure while reading increasingly ridiculous expert analyses of the alien ships. One claimed the vessels were obviously powered by big dick energy. Another insisted the Vorthan Empire was just compensating for something. But the video that stopped everyone cold showed a teenager in Ohio who had somehow gotten onto his roof with a megaphone. In shaky phone footage, he could be seen shouting up at the alien ship hovering over Cleveland. Hey alien dudes, your ship. Looks like a flying pickle. Did you come all this way just to tell us we have to do homework for space school? The ship had actually lowered slightly as if the aliens inside were trying to figure out what they were hearing. 23 million views in 6 hours, Sarah reported. The kids already got a merchandise deal. General Morrison looked like he was going to have a stroke. This is military intelligence now, a child with a megaphone? It's psychological intelligence, Liu corrected, and it might be more valuable than all our weapons combined. She stood and walked to the window, looking up at the massive ship hanging over New Geneva. Its alien symbols pulsed steadily, patient, and menacing. Captain Chen, I want you to analyze these memes from a tactical perspective. What are they really saying about human psychology? Sarah spent the next hour scrolling through thousands of posts, jokes, videos, and comments. Gradually, a pattern emerged. They're not random, she reported. The humor follows specific themes. People are calling the aliens outdated, desperate for attention, trying too hard to be scary. The most popular jokes treat the invasion like an awkward social media post from an ex trying to seem important. And it suggests humanity collectively sees this as a dominance display rather than a genuine threat. We're responding like the cool kids making fun of the school bully's dramatic speech. Liu nodded slowly. What does that tell us about next steps? Before Sarah could answer, every screen in the room flashed red. The alien voice filled their minds again, but this time it sounded different, less confident, almost confused. People of the third planet, we have observed your communications. Your response is unprecedented. The hesitation was obvious. For the first time, the voice of the mighty Vorthan Empire sounded uncertain. We will adjust our timeline. You now have 72 hours to respond appropriately to our demands. The connection cut abruptly. The room erupted in excited chatter, but Liu held up her hand for silence. She was smiling for the first time since the ships arrived. Ladies and gentlemen, she said quietly, I think we just found their weakness. Outside, the alien ship pulsed faster, its symbols flickering with what almost looked like agitation. For the first time in 7,000 years of conquest, the Vorthan Empire was dealing with a species that refused to be impressed. And somewhere in the vast ship's command center, aliens who had conquered hundreds of worlds were learning that sometimes the most dangerous weapon isn't fear, it's embarrassment. Chapter 3. The Empire Strikes Back. Awkwardly. 48 hours into what should have been humanity's surrender period, the Vorthan Empire tried a different approach. Captain, Sarah Chen was in the middle of her morning briefing when every screen in the UN headquarters flickered to life. But instead of the usual cosmic horror show, they displayed what looked like a carefully produced documentary. People of Earth, the familiar alien voice began, though it had dropped several decibels from its previous godlike boom. We understand. There may be confusion about the seriousness of our intentions. Dr. Webb nearly choked on his coffee. Did they just say they understand there may be confusion? The documentary began with sweeping shots of space battles, but these weren't the abstract holograms from before. These looked like actual footage. Shaky, raw, and disturbingly real. Ships exploded in silent flowers of debris. Planets burned under orbital bombardment. The Karathi homeworld fell after 3 days of resistance, the narrator continued. The images showed a planet that had once been green and blue, now a charred husk. Their military forces were adequate. They lasted longer than most. But something was off about the presentation. The editing was clunky, and the narrator kept pausing as if reading from a script. Worse, someone had clearly tried to make it more hip for human audiences. The Zephyrins were, as you might say, totally owned when they attempted to resist Imperial will. Sarah stared at the screen. Did they just use slang? This is not, as your communications suggest, an elaborate meme or prank. Are very serious about galactic domination. Very serious indeed. The documentary continued with increasingly desperate attempts to seem relevant and threatening. They showed off their weapons technology, but kept using phrases like, "This plasma cannon is absolutely fire," and describing their fleet as the ultimate flex. Secretary General Liu watched with growing amazement. They're trying to speak our language. And failing spectacularly, Sarah added. The presentation reached its climax with what was clearly meant to be an intimidating display of Vorthon military might. Armored figures marched in formation while dramatic music played. But the music sounded suspiciously like a royalty-free version of the Star Wars Imperial March, and one of the soldiers tripped over his cape. "We hope this clarifies any misunderstandings about our capabilities," the voice concluded. "Please respond with appropriate fear and submission. Thank you." The screens went dark. The silence in the UN conference room lasted exactly 3 seconds, before Dr. Webb burst into laughter. "They said thank you," he gasped between giggles. "The terrifying Galactic Empire said thank you." Sarah was already pulling up social media. The internet's response was instantaneous and merciless. Someone had already created a reaction video showing the documentary side by side with a teenager's first attempt at making a YouTube channel. The similarities were embarrassingly obvious. The awkward pauses, the try-hard energy, the obvious desperation to seem cool. Another post simply said, "Aliens traveled 7,000 years to show us their PowerPoint presentation about how scary they are. This is the most boomer energy in galactic history." But the post that went viral fastest was a simple screenshot of the moment the alien soldier tripped, with the caption, "When you're trying to intimidate humanity but you're not familiar with Earth gravity." 60 million views in the first hour, Sarah reported. The official UN response video has 12,000. Lou pulled up the military assessment reports. "What are our analysts saying?" General Morrison looked grim. "The weapons they showed are real. The footage of destroyed worlds is genuine, but..." He paused, looking embarrassed. "But their presentation suggests they don't understand human psychology at all." Elaborate. "Ma'am, they just tried to convince us they're dangerous by making a promotional video. That's not how you intimidate a military target. That's how you try to impress someone you want to like you." Sarah felt a puzzle piece click into place. What if that's exactly what this is? Everyone turned to look at her. "Think about it," she continued, her mind racing. "They've conquered 300 worlds, right? So why haven't they just blown us up? Why the big speeches and the deadlines and now this awkward educational video?" Dr. Webb leaned forward. "You think they want something specific from us?" "I think they want us to react the way everyone else did. Fear, submission, desperation. But we're not giving them that response, and they don't know what to do." Liu's eyes lit up with understanding. "They're not trying to conquer us. They're trying to get us to surrender. There's a difference. Huge difference. Conquest is about taking what you want by force. Surrender is about getting what you want by convincing the other side to give up." The implications hit everyone at once. If humanity's unexpected response was genuinely confusing the aliens, then maybe the situation wasn't as hopeless as it seemed. Sarah's tablet chimed with another priority alert. This time, it wasn't a formal communication from the Vorthon Empire. It was a direct message, not broadcast to every human mind, not transmitted through their ship's speakers. A private text that appeared only on UN communication systems. Hello. This is awkward. Can we talk? Junior Cultural Analyst Zeph 4471, Vorthon Imperial Survey Division. The room fell silent again, but this time it was the silence of opportunity rather than dread. Liu looked around the table. Well, that's new. Sarah stared at the message. In all her years of military service, she'd never had an enemy soldier ask for a private chat. But then again, she'd never faced enemies who seemed genuinely confused by memes. Ma'am, she said slowly, I think we should respond. Diplomatically? Liu smiled. The kind where nobody gets blown up, your empire gets what it actually needs, and humans get to keep making memes about the whole thing. Zeph paused in their typing. You would negotiate? Even after our threats? Zeph, Sarah said. The fact that you're sitting here asking us to explain our jokes suggests you're not nearly as scary as you think you are. The alien considered this for a moment. This is accurate. Would you be willing to postpone further mockery while we explored diplomatic solutions? Sorry, Webb said, not sounding sorry at all. The memes have achieved self-sustaining momentum, but we promise they'll be friendly memes. Friendly memes? Think of them as cultural exchange through humor. Zeph looked utterly lost. I will need to study this concept extensively. As the call ended with tentative agreements to continue talking, Sarah realized that humanity had just accomplished something unprecedented in galactic history. They had accidentally confused a galactic empire into diplomacy. Outside, the alien ship still hung in the sky, but their ominous pulsing had taken on an almost tentative quality. And across the internet, new memes were already appearing about humanity's first interstellar customer service call. The Vorthon Empire had come to Earth expecting conquerors and slaves. Instead, they were about to get the most comprehensive crash course in human psychology ever attempted. Epilogue. 6 months later, the coffee shop in downtown Geneva had become an unlikely hub of interstellar diplomacy. Captain Sarah Chen sat at her usual table, laptop open, video calling with junior cultural analyst Zeph 4471, who had recently been promoted to senior human relations specialist. So the humans in this image, Zeph said, displaying a meme on their screen, are saying that our imperial proclamation reminded them of their parents trying to use social media. Exactly, Sarah confirmed, sipping her latte. It's affectionate mockery. We do it to people we're comfortable with. Affectionate mockery. Zeph wrote this down carefully. And this is considered friendly? Very friendly. If we didn't like you, we'd ignore you completely. 6 months ago, Sarah would never have believed she'd be teaching meme theory to an alien over video chat. But the world had gotten very strange very quickly. The Vorthon Empire, it turned out, was having something of an identity crisis. After 3 days of increasingly awkward diplomatic exchanges, the Empire's leadership had made an unprecedented decision. Instead of destroying or conquering Earth, they would establish humanity as their first cultural consultation species. The arrangement was bizarre but effective. Humans got to keep their planet, their independence, and their internet. In exchange, they provided what the Empire apparently desperately needed: advice on how to interact with other species without accidentally starting wars. The Karathi situation is improving, Zeph reported. After we explained that their surrender was not actually required and offered them the same consultation arrangement we have with you, they agreed to help us understand crystalline-based humor. Crystalline-based humor? Apparently, rock people have very different comedic timing than organic species. Who knew? Sarah grinned. The Empire's reintegration program had been a massive success. Dozens of previously conquered worlds had been offered new arrangements based on their actual cultures rather than imperial assumptions. The Zephyrins had become the Empire's new psychic communications network, as paid consultants rather than enslaved computers. The mining worlds had been converted to cooperative resource-sharing agreements. It turned out that most species preferred being asked nicely to being threatened with extinction. "How's your supervisor handling the adjustment?" Sarah asked. Zeph's expression became carefully neutral. "High Commander Vorth Prime is adapting. They have enrolled in an online course about effective workplace communication." Sarah nearly choked on her coffee. "They're taking management training?" "Human management training, yes. Apparently, ruling through fear and intimidation is considered poor leadership technique in your species." Just slightly, the changes hadn't been limited to the Vorthan Empire. Earth had become the galaxy's unofficial center for cultural mediation. The UN had established the Department of Interstellar Relations, staffed primarily by anthropologists, sociologists, and, surprisingly, social media managers. Dr. Webb had been promoted to Director of Xenocultural Studies and was currently working on a book titled How Humanity Accidentally Diplomatized Its Way Out of Alien Invasion. Secretary General Liu had been offered a position as the Empire's chief cultural advisor, which she accepted on the condition that she could keep her Earth job too. She now split her time between New York and the Imperial capital, teaching alien bureaucrats about consensus building and collaborative decision-making. "Any news on the Regelian situation?" Sarah asked. "Ah, yes," Zeph brightened. "Your suggestion about approaching them with music rather than military demonstrations was extremely effective. They have agreed to join the Empire as our new entertainment and cultural exchange division." "See? Not every species responds well to being threatened." "This is a lesson we are still learning," Zeph admitted. "Though I must ask, the humans in Sector 7 have sent us something called a care package, filled with what they describe as comfort food and friendship bracelets. Is this normal behavior?" Sarah felt a warm glow of pride in her species. "Completely normal. You've been adopted." "Adopted?" "It means humans have decided you're part of the family now. The care packages will continue indefinitely. You'll probably start getting birthday cards soon?" Zeph looked simultaneously confused and pleased. "We have never been adopted by a client species before. Probably because you never asked them about their feelings before conquering them." Point taken. Their conversation was interrupted by Sarah's phone buzzing with a news alert. She glanced at it and grinned. "What is it?" Zeph asked. "The Galactic Council formally voted to adopt humanity's Ask Before Conquering protocol as the new standard for interstellar relations. Apparently, our method has reduced galactic conflicts by 89%. This seems logical. Why did no one think of this before?" "Because," Sarah said, closing her laptop and preparing to head back to the UN building, "sometimes it takes an outside perspective to see the obvious solution." As she walked through Geneva's streets, Sarah looked up at the Vorthon ship that still hung in the sky above the city. But now it was there by invitation rather than threat, and its alien symbols pulsed in what the humans had learned was the Vorthon equivalent of a friendly wave. The ship's hull displayed a new addition. Massive LED screen showing the current Earth meme of the day. Today it was a picture of Zeph giving a thumbs up with the caption, "When you accidentally become friends with the species you came to conquer." The meme had been Zeph's idea. Humanity had faced its first contact with aliens the same way it faced most things, by making jokes about it until everyone involved felt better. And somehow, accidentally, they had taught the galaxy that the best way to build an empire wasn't through fear and conquest. It was through friendship, understanding, and really, really good memes. Sarah's tablet chimed with a new message from Zeph. Question: Human internet users are asking if I will be attending something called Comic-Con next month. Should I be concerned? She typed back. Only if you don't want to become the most popular alien in the galaxy. The response came immediately. I may need to prepare additional cultural research. Sarah smiled as she entered the UN building. 6 months ago, the biggest question facing humanity was whether they would survive first contact with aliens. Now the biggest question was whether the Vorthan Empire was ready for cosplay. Some problems, she reflected, were much better than others. The end.